Yeah, I mean,
it's gonna work.
I was a little surprised that that was the one that was gonna take, but I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
cool. So does that mean I just need to keep selling all my equipment to be relevant? Is that the lesson that I'm getting out of this, or is it that But I just found it interesting that social media all the social medias are heading that way. That it's like the people that you follow aren't maybe the people that you're interested in, and that interests change over time, and so therefore, like, I think it brings up this hypothetical question of like what I'd be curious on the social media side is how long are you interested in said topic? They must have some type of data that shows of like when you're interested in something versus when you're interested in like a new thing.
Oh, they definitely do.
It moves so quickly. So like X, just in the past couple months, because I'm an X user, like I guess it was a little bit longer because it was when I was following Tar Heel basketball, which I hadn't interacted with at all. But I double click into 2 posts about UNC basketball, Duke basketball for you. Instantly, the feed changed over, like instantly, which is both good and bad. In that case, it was good because I wanted to consume everything I could till Caleb got injured. And then it was a really sad time because we were not good. But,
That's fair.
Yeah, the algorithms are going quick.
That's like that for me right now with Booher. I'm doing like a bunch of night fighting stuff right now, and then I looked it up once, and now all of my whole feed is just medieval knights like beating each other up, and I'm like, I'm here for it.
You're down.
Yeah, I'm signing up. I'm subscribing and following all the things now. So I guess now my feed is half broadcast, half live content, half. The other one that I'm finding interesting right now, actually, and this is a hot take, and it's good for like a cold open. Have you been seeing like the Invest Fest drama?
I haven't.
Earn Your Leisure.
Maybe a little bit of this.
Earn Your Leisure.
This is local. This is an Atlanta thing, or
so Earn Your Leisure is a YouTube creator group. They do Invest Fest here in Atlanta. They were on this morning show. Oh my God, with Charlemagne. What's the Breakfast Club?
Yep,
right.
And
shots.
And Earn Your Leisure was taking shots at Atlanta.
I heard this. Shots at the mayor. And the
shots
city.
at the mayor, saying that like, well, we're doing and throwing this big event in Atlanta, and we to get like no support. And then the mayor shot back, being like, well, we like invest in our own essentially, and you guys aren't really investing enough in there. If you guys want to like invest in the communities, we can like talk about it, but like we're doing the best we can to help you out.
Yeah, and we've invested in all these other groups and small businesses. Here's the receipts. Like, check it out.
Yeah, check it out. And then it's starting to actually come to this heat where a lot of people are like putting like spicy takes online about it. I was just curious of what your take was.
I don't know that. I mean, I did see it because I follow a lot of Atlanta content. So whether it was creator-based or Atlanta, it did hit my feed. I don't know. I didn't really dig deep. It feels like a little bit of a cheap shot to go after a city for not supporting your own business in that way.
Subsidy, I guess.
Yeah, especially when I would say I'm probably Team Atlanta. I think they do support a lot of local businesses, so I'll rep Atlanta if I don't know anything about the situation.
Sure.
So yeah,
it's also a cheap shot, an easy way to drum up drama. Like anytime you poke a hole or poke fun at politics or anybody in a seat of power, especially if you have a following, I feel like that just opens up a floodgate for them to, it's politics. There's character assassination constantly, right? Like people are always trying, you know what I mean? Like people are always trying to find ways of ruining and discrediting and that kind of stuff within politics. So as soon as you jump into that realm, it's easy to start and drum up the drama, but it's kind of hard to stop that once you've opened up the faucet.
And isn't their whole vibe like, what is it? Earn the wealth, like make your own path, like be entrepreneurial. And now you're like, but my hands are out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it was about. Is like, we're trying to do this for Black entrepreneurship and empowerment. All about it. Very supportive of it. And they're trying to go and teach small businesses how to be more financially savvy. But I agree with you there. They're like, oh yeah, so New York is going to give us a deal. And I'm like, yeah, but you keep coming back to Atlanta. A lot of your constituents in these businesses are in Atlanta, right? Like, I don't know, writings on the wall, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. Three white dudes can't really talk about black entrepreneurship.
It's tough.
But I think,
don't know.
but I think Atlanta backs up a reputation for being like an engine of upward mobility. Honestly, like we do have that track record. So we may not be the ones to prove it, but I think it's real.
So we're here. We're live at FQS. Welcome to the Ren Show podcast on this new episode. I'm Cody with Garrett.
Hey, guys.
And then we have Todd Harris here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. It's first time at FQS Studios, Studio C.
I know. It's been like we've known each other for what? For a long time, and we haven't been.
It was COVID. I guess it was COVID times.
COVID times,
right? Is this COVID? What? I think that's what brought us together.
It was
Smoltz. I think so. Yeah, 2020. 2020 May.
I'm glad to have you here. Like 6 years in the making of you being here. So welcome to the show. How I like to start this usually is I want to give you a little bit of time. Who you are, what you do, how you got here, right? I know you used to be at High Res. You do this stuff with Skillshot, with Resurgence now. Let's talk about it.
All right. Well, it's about 20 years in gaming and esports, basically. And I'm old, so I actually did about 15 years before that in technology. So the boring part of my career was learn to write code, got to work on point of sale systems, which is actually kind of fun.
Okay.
We had our systems in Chick-fil-A. About 80% of movie tickets went through our systems. Learned everything about entrepreneurship from a great company up here in Alpharetta called Radiant Systems, which was a rocket ship. And that grew to like 1,200 people in terms of employees. And that's where I learned about startup life and fell in love with it. A couple boring companies later, we took the money from those businesses and we started a game studio. And that was High Res Studios. And we worked really hard and we had some success. We made an awesome game called Smite, game called Paladins, game called Tribes, Realm Royale, Rogue Company. They were all multiplayer games.
Yep.
They're all games that aspired to be esports, and some of them got there. Some of them had quite a moment. And so I did that really right up until the pandemic, and I exited High Res going into 2020 and started doing this crazy assortment of businesses. Skillshot, very similar to an FQS in the content production space. Ghost Gaming, more on the content creator space and esports space. And we're doing game development now with something called Ghost Launchpad. So what unites all these things, I guess, is just the idea that gaming is great to bring people together. So we're not just making games, we're building community around games. As you know, that happens through content, happens through live events, happens through influencers, happens through streaming. So we're trying to build capabilities that help us do that and help, different brand partners in the space do that.
What was the inflection point for you? You said the pandemic was kind of the slipping point where you're like, I'm getting out of gaming. I still want to be involved in it, right? But I'm seeing this new path ahead that entices me more. You talk about that?
Yeah. It happened to be the pandemic, but it was ahead of the pandemic, so that had nothing really to do with it. But I mean, it was a couple things. One, from a business standpoint, candidly, I felt like we had taken High Res Studios to the top of the mountain. And from a business standpoint, like it was time to partner up. It was time to exit. We had grown a company from 4 people to 450 people. We had a awesome performing game with Smite. We had a couple bets, like bullets in the chamber. It was honestly a good time to like team up.
Yep.
And I thought that was kind of needed, but some of the other folks on the leadership team had a different point of view, which was cool. So that was like, all right, that's cool. Then I'll go my own way. So that was like the business side of it.
Yeah.
Gaming was also really changing, just like from a game development industry standpoint. We were lucky and good on a lot of trends, like digital distribution. It sounds so obvious now, but like we were the first free-to-play game on Steam. So we were the first free-to-play game on Xbox. Like we caught some of these trends at a good time and we benefited from them, like with Smite specifically. But then you do something that works and then everyone catches up with you, and it's like, well, what's the next thing? And I wasn't really sure what the next thing could be in gaming, in like making video games, until now, which we can talk about. But that was like another element. I was like, man, we struck gold of being like early on digital distribution, early free to play, early with esports, early working with streamers and Twitch, and we caught that wave, and everybody's doing it. It's like, oh, like it used to be easy to be on the front page of Twitch. We just streamed 24/7 and no one else knew. Now everybody's streaming. Used to be
by time, right?
Exactly. Used to be like we were one of a few free to play games on Steam. Now everything's free to play. Discovery's harder. So things just felt like they were getting tough as a business.
I mean, I think we've said this before. Good artists copy, great artists steal. It sounds like you were being a tastemaker in the space and just doing it before everybody else, right?
A little of both. We were definitely, we saw things that worked, and in terms of game genres, and we iterated and put our own spin. We also took some very big risks in terms of esports and streamers and streaming. Like, no other game studio was streaming, really had any presence as a studio on Twitch when we started. And we started doing it 24/7. We said, we're going to be the CNN of Twitch. And it wasn't that hard. We just found people that were into the game, and we passed the stream key around. I mean, it was not that hard. We had a tiny closet that was like 1/4 of this. It was literally a closet where Bart streamed out of. Like, it was very organic and cheap, but it worked at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we made some good decisions. We got lucky in some places.
So those learning lessons that you've obviously brought into these new businesses that you're working now, you hinted at it, and I want to go back to it, that you're talking about gaming, that you're going back to games.
Yep.
Right? So what's the new model? What's the portfolio look like? Obviously, we have Skillshot, we have live production, and we kind of operate in similar veins there.
Yep.
But what does the rest of that portfolio look like, and how do they complement each other?
Yeah, so outside the production side, there's two big things that we're doing, as a part of our for-profit business. There's other cool stuff we do in esports in the nonprofit space. But the two big bets outside of production, number one, they're both things that I hope are like AI proof or AI resilient. Your business, our business, live streaming, I think it's AI resistant. I think people want to see authentic moments like this. Absolutely. So I think that's a good bet. Playing video games, as much as I thought this is really tough, I also think is AI resistant. I know there's hot takes on LinkedIn where people are like, AI is going to make the whole game. I just put in this prompt. AI is not going to make very interesting games for a very long time, in my view.
It's a good engine.
Good engine. It helps people be more productive. Our programmers right now are using AI to generate code, and they can make better games for less money because of that. But gaming is not going to go away. If anything, if we all live in the utopia of AI and we have more free time, we'll play more video games, guaranteed. And then the third is let's just call it the creator space. There's AI influencers right now, and probably for the next year, some people will make a lot of money. I think there's going to be blowback. I think the platforms are already starting to detect that. I think a year from now, that's not a thing, and humans that are influencers will continue to be even more relevant as long as they're creating authentic content.
Right.
Yeah, and working with brands that make sense for the community. All the things that we could talk about. I don't think that's going away. So we're betting on live events, live streaming, making video games, and I'll get back to like why and how video games, and then creators.
Well, the irony is that the whole young movement of moving away from the corporate branded polished suit and tie was that seeking authenticity. And I feel like AI is the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
Because it's literally the corporate polished, now fake UGC attempting to be authentic. Like, I'm a human too.
Yeah.
Hello, kids.
I think you're right. I mean, you got this sweet collection of vinyl back there. Yeah. Like, people are returning to some amount of physical goods, IRL experiences because of what you said. If you grow up in an era where it's just and again, I'm pro AI, but if you grow up where the content is slop, 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 I don't trust this, I don't believe this, they're just trying to sell me stuff that's not even a real person, which I do think is the Gen Alpha like point of view on the world. Like they'll consume it for the lulz, but it's not going to move them.
Yeah.
You want to have just like a real connection. So
I'm of the same mind. Well, I want to pivot to having a new segment where one of the things that I went to, and I think this would be interesting for you and I to talk about, is I went to the X Games. I wanted to get broadcasters' takes on some of the things that I was learning about the X Games and how they produce. Obviously, as a part of Skillshot, the complexities of what it takes to do in esports. But I never really looked at what it would take in order to do action sports.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if have you broadcasted action sports stuff before?
We did one session, a couple episodes of World Chase Tag. That's probably the closest that we have been. It is contained in terms of space, but we did that, which was cool.
That's
and
awesome.
then we also did a Twitch controls wrestling a couple times.
Well, that's cool too.
Cool.
Those are pretty actiony.
And then I went to I only have attended X Games once, real long time ago I think it was in Minnesota, because I remember going to the Mall of America. It was actually an esports conference that was around Mall of America. We did like a one-day pop into the X Games, and at the X Games, I think it was our friends at ESL that were doing some kind of esports activation there. Yeah. I forget the game. Though that's my set of
what were they
close to it.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but I'm curious about the wrestling, Twitch controls wrestling, and World Chase Tag. With esports, we both know it's a lot of computers, a lot of routing, a lot of game observation, having people who know the game. We were doing FPV drones before FPV drones were a thing inside of these like Unreal environments. What are the challenges that you experienced of moving into more of this physical realm of like World Chase Tag? You could have cameras that you have to find everywhere, right? You got it with wrestling. What were the challenges that you were experiencing?
Dude, it's too deep for me. I could BS you, but the level I'm on. I was like, Nabil, figure out the World Chase Tag. We got the deal done. Go make it happen. And then a lot of stuff happened.
I got the deal. You figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. I can go deep in game dev and even creator, but that I'm not gonna front.
Well, then I think it would be cool to again explore some of this, because I got a kind of a back end feel from the X Games as to what are some of the complexities that they have to think about logistically when doing some of these shows. The two ones that I wanted to highlight is that some of the X Games guys have been broadcasting this for like over 25 years. Very tight-knit community. They know the shots, just like in esports, where you have, there's probably certain places on the map that you want your observers to hang out because the action's going to happen there, and you need a TD who knows when someone's going to hit a snipe or do a combo that they need to be in a certain location and then hit it quick. Otherwise, they can miss the moment, and then it's gone. Same thing for an X Games. So I think the first video that I have is some of the BMX stuff that they were doing in the skate park. I've tried to. Hopefully, Nick has avoided some of the crazy crashes that happened, because they were definitely
somebody on this couch is a little bit squeamish.
Yeah. But the idea that I wanted to kind of show is that they had certain camera operators. They had one camera operator who was dedicated. He had a fisheye lens. His whole goal was to get, when you ever watch the X Games on TV where they have the shot where the guy's doing the trick and they're getting under. There's one guy, whole job, he just had a backpack and a camera and would go and get underneath and he was like 2 feet away from these actual competitors of having to get the shot.
Underneath?
Yeah. So he would, I can't physically, I want to do it and not get away from the microphone, but he would physically get underneath the ramp. So right beside the ramp, and then when the guy would go up, he'd come in close while they're up in the air, and then he would dip out. You had to do that for every single person, regardless of the trick. And then the TD knew that right when he'd do that, and they would be there, they'd flip to his shot immediately to get it, put it on the iMag, move on. And then they had a couple other of roamers, but he was always there in the skate parks in those locations. The other one, you're gonna Oh, I don't see any
Take a
video.
look.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah,
can
so
put it on.
do
Yeah,
it.
put it on, man. Up.
This
And make it a
weekend,
little
needs
bigger.
to do 4 events, and score some more points for the team.
It's only the
but
program in the
Had
corner.
a crash in practice, face planted to the ground, injured my hand.
Okay.
Yeah, not ideal.
You were also scheduled for knee surgery at the conclusion of this season, but you'll also need to see a dentist now.
Yeah, I've got a few things I need to do now. I thought I was initially going to have to get surgery on my hand. I'm going to have to go see the dentist, get my knee surgery.
Got the monster helmet.
Yeah, all of them had all their branding. So if you look where there's a couple of, so when he goes here and he hits
Oh
that,
my gosh.
yeah, when he hits that edge there, that guy on that corner where the kick logo is where the guy has to get underneath when he's like flipping the bike and get that shot and then get out without like getting injured.
That is so scary to me. I'm assuming he's wearing full headgear, No? Wow.
It was just like raw dog.
Insurance policy must go insane.
Me right now with a little backpack with a transmitter and just, it looked like a C200 just cage with the camera and with a fisheye lens that he would like get under there. And then that was kind of his job. And then they had other roamers, and the other roamers were more shoulder mounted. Weren't as cool, but I mean, they had to be there nearby. But they had probably 3 or 4 roamer cameras on the shot, and then they had like a main shot like hitting it.
How specialized do you think those guys are? Like, do you think there's like the BMX guy, or there's like the action sports roamer? Like, you know what I mean?
I feel like you know this in esports where if you had guys who observe Smite,
Yeah.
you probably hired your Smite observers.
For observer, 100% they need to know the game. If they in-game observer, 100% you need to know the game.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So I would assume that they're probably very much the same, where you have guys who are in the pipe who are like, sure, that's my job. And I've been doing this for 5-10 years. I'm probably a skateboarder myself. And they go, cool, you're going to have this role and you're going to be in there. It seemed to me when I talked to production leads.
Also, there's a huge culture around videography and skating too. Like that's always been a thing.
It's true.
Tony Hawk Days, everything. So it kind of goes hand in hand in a way, in my mind at least.
Yeah, editing videos of it.
Yeah, run it.
That he might try that.
So you can see, they have. I guess that guy's getting walked off. Right? Remember when I was telling you about the people who are getting hurt? They don't keep them on the field long.
They run them off.
Everyone kind of is able to. I didn't see anybody who had to get carted off, thankfully. But it's all good. It's all good.
Well, let's watch this guy.
We'll go watch it. So okay.
Oh my gosh! No way.
There's an example.
The arm on the.
Oh.
Dude, all these guys are just like walking it off and just like, yeah, okay, well, I got another run.
It's another day at the office.
Yeah, but you can see these camera guys are having to be pretty close to where it is if one of the bikes actually were like fly off. There was one situation that happened that one of the bikes actually did fly off and it ran into the crowd and someone just grabbed it and threw it back into the.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems like they need some netting or something.
I was about to say, if this was Mythbusters, there'd be like a 2-foot plexiglass between them and the camera for sure. But that's just imagine. Oh, I can't even imagine. I don't want to. Something went wrong.
Not the fiber, but they also did some like behind the scenes stuff where so that dirt. Go back really quick. So I do want to bring this up. So as some of the part of the production that they had here is that So speaking about different logistics, they have to bring in all of this dirt for the BMX.
Whoa.
The BMX, and it has to be deployed, but it has to be deployed like a week or 2 weeks in advance. So they have a dirt man on their production team, and his whole job is to get dirt for that in these foreign countries.
Wow.
So he deploys to like Tokyo and Sao Paulo and these places, and his whole job is to get like dirt from point A to point B, or find a local contractor or whoever who has the dirt that I think has to be a specific or certain grade that is done for BMX for them to be able
I'm
to.
guessing it's BMX grade dirt. It's just like the grass on a pitch, right, for soccer or whatever. I mean, it's like I'm sure there's all sorts of.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Bermuda.
Yeah. How much sand versus how much clay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Is it
the
clean?
composition completely changes.
Is it sanitized dirt? You never know.
What I thought was crazy is that it takes them 2 weeks to build that, but it takes them less than 24 hours to remove it.
Sounds like events.
That's also true.
I mean, let's be honest. You're sculpting dirt versus moving and getting rid of it.
Sounds like load in versus
that
load
there
out.
is what I wanted to show. That back.
That's pretty cool. I like how the dirt is branded, of course. As
Oh,
well.
that's
That's very esportsy. Like, it's like, of course.
Well, that's the
brand
one thing.
everything.
Where do you want your logo? On the dirt?
Yeah, all the dirt mounts.
I mean, but that's going to be your shots. That when it goes and it flips and they do the thing,
Yeah, of
then
course.
you have your viewership on it. It's the same thing for the skate park, right? That you have when they're tracking through it. Think about how much. So, as you know, product placement is kind of king, especially in broadcast. Yeah, you can do in between ads, but how many people actually watch those versus like the actual action? So, I think for action sports, it's even more important. The guy wearing the Rockstar helmet, the kick branded ramps, that type of stuff. But that's like an important part of their asset because X Games is mainly a linear sport. Like they still send it on ABC, they still send it on ESPN.
Oh, okay, got it.
They push it to Kick and like other platforms, but their main branding like comes from these like large broadcasts.
Not their primary.
Interesting.
They have really good attendance. I mean, the attendance that we saw at New Orleans was really cool.
Yeah.
They have like 50 to 100K people when they go to like Aspen and some of these other spots.
Cool.
But their major branding and their major like deals come around like.
Surprised you don't see something like sponsored by ibuprofen.
Well, go to Roku. They have like a so one thing that I thought was cool that I saw is that they have so you want to pause on that shot. That is they have multiple different ways that people activate. One of the ways that they activated was with the Roku channel, and they had a behind the scenes like interview piece. So they'd have some of the sports, and then you could go and chill and hang out with the athletes. But it looked like just a simple like 3-camera setup that they could go and have and deploy in order to have more of like this BTS behind the scenes feel, so that people could have more access. But what makes me curious, right, is that yeah, you can have that for Roku, but can people talk back? And that's kind of the whole point of live stream.
What we do.
Yeah.
The interactivity. Right. Well, I am curious. Like, I mean, it is always interesting to see where the product placement is and what's premium. So, like you said, for this, it's probably the helmet and and the dirt. You know, those are like premium inventory. But did you see any more, I'll say, interesting activations from a brand beyond the logo? You know, where it was an experience brought to you by and it's kind of noteworthy.
I would see it. I mean, MoonPay was kind of the big one there. I mean, that's actually a perfect shot that Nick had. That it pushes there, and you can see obviously the branding there. But there were on-site activations.
Yep.
A skimboard company actually built like a pool, and then had people trying out skimboards. So that was something you could do outside. Monster Energy had their huge truck and their deployment, like always.
Yeah.
They had a. I don't even know how to explain it. The cars that like they lift up and they like the wheels and stuff. They had that was cool. Monster had 5 different tattoo parlors that were deployed that you could get.
It's a great place for that.
X Games or Monsters or free tattoos that you could do. Skate EA had a they just had PS5s out that people could play Skate and interact and engage with.
Makes sense.
What were some of the other big ones? Someone had a drift cart racing track. So if you've ever done those little drift carts, you could go and sign up for that. Some of the other deployments some of them were consumables, a lot of alcohol brands, M&M's and Skittles had like the freezer, like, you know how the freeze-dried candy thing? They were going and testing and showcasing that. A couple alcohol brands had cabanas or stuff like that outside. The one that I thought that was the most crowded, that was interesting, was the skate park. They made this little skate park, these ramps for kids outside, and right outside of like skate merch. That thing was flooded the entire time. It was just a bunch of skateboarding kids going in, doing ramps and doing cool, fun stuff.
Definitely.
And then it looked like after the show was done for the day, they would open up the skate parks for some of the kids to be able to ride in the parks and be able to do it before they like tore it down. So that was like really cool because you could get field access, which means that you couldn't just be in the stands, but you could be in there and see the players and hang out with them and like be on the floor, like right beside it. And almost that was more valuable than being in the stands kind of watching it, even though the viewership from the stands was better.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, it makes sense. I think it's always interesting when you see these events that lean into the participation element. Even esports, I think, like, it kind of went through a phase where it was just maybe, in my view, too much spectators watching the 5 versus 5 instead of as many opportunities. Just like you said, they came to see the best skateboarders, but they also wanted to skateboard. Yeah. And we used to do the Smite esports event. People would travel all over the place to see the best people play Smite, but what was the busiest option of all the activation? Playing Smite. Even though they could play it at home, they would travel from around the world, but they want to be there with people that are so into their passion and like do the thing. So like, I didn't go to too many of the fan fest for World Cup, but like, I bet it would be really popular to have some playable soccer there.
Yeah.
Because you're into soccer and you're people.
Fan fest?
What we did is I went to a game just for fun, and then Skillshot was a little involved in the Decatur Fan Fest. We supported that, not the main Fan Fest. So I didn't actually make it to the main one, so I don't have any feedback on it.
I went to the main one.
I know it's packed.
I went to the main one. I got the VIP thing.
Nice.
Remember? Yeah. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I won the VIP thing, and I went there for 1 day. And
I told you should have gone to that event, right? You really should have brought me as your plus one.
I'm sorry. You didn't call me out on a live stream.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh man, yeah. No, you did convince me, and I do appreciate it. I went to the VIP Fan Fest, and what I was going to say is that, to your point, everybody had that same idea. So it almost was, it's kind of boring, where Lego had a deployment, and Lego was like, take a soccer ball, hit an LED wall, you get a high score.
It was too much.
Home Depot had it. The bank companies had it. Coca-Cola didn't have it, but they made a cabana room thing where you could get a FIFA bandana. That was kind of the only thing that you could get, right? Other than just like standing in it. I don't know. I don't know. My take is that
it's too much.
FanFest was the activations that they had there were kind of weak.
Yeah. That
everyone kind of came up with the same idea. No one talked to each other. And then every single one of them had like a line of doing the same thing. And I literally walked around with my wife and I was like, I think that there could have maybe been more. They had a little bit of Atlanta markets. There could have been more things that could have represented Atlanta than just hitting a soccer ball at an LED wall.
Yeah.
And made a more interactive, engaging experience that was maybe more brand endemic for those brands than just that. So to your point, yes, that's what we saw. But
a little too much.
Well, it makes me curious because, and I wanted to bring it back around as like DreamHack, for instance. DreamHack used to have a huge LAN area, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have MomoCon, that's huge LAN areas that people just come there because they wanted to go and play the games. But when I've talked to people about LAN gaming, they're like, yeah, it's just not as big in the US as it is in Europe. They've been seeing this regression, so to speak, from American markets of doing that versus the European markets. And I'm curious to your thesis there of saying that people want to go and play games. Is it the fact that they want to play games, but they want to bring their own computers? Or is it where are we missing the mark?
Yeah, well, so I think it's both. I mean, you're right. I was very surprised to read that very recently DreamHack, which started as a BYO computer event and then added activations and esports, is getting rid of the BYOC part. Like, they've announced that it's gone. Forever. I mean, until they change their mind. But they've announced that they're removing that element, which is the core of it. So, I mean, there's something that drove that decision. So I'm guessing, to your point, they were seeing it dip, or they were seeing something.
Yeah.
So I think there's two different things. I mean, you're right. I mean, lugging your computer is a bit of a pain. And I would say probably generationally, maybe people are not into that as much as they were at one point. That's a little different.
Gabe days.
Yeah.
You brought all your friends together. You went out and do.
So that's a little sad that it's gone away, and there's probably some retro nostalgia for older gamers where that could live. But I kind of get that might be going away. But I would say if you were going to, a Rainbow Six event, or you're going, I think that the crowd that shows up there, if they have playable Rainbow Six, they're really going to engage with it. League of Legends, wherever you're going to, if you don't have to bring it, I'm just saying we need to bring back the interactivity and the play part of the esports event versus just the sitting in your seat watching. But we probably also have to make it kind of convenient for the youth of today who don't want to put their computer in a shopping cart or a gaming chair and literally just wheel it from the hotel over, which is what they used to do.
It's more of like the free play almost model.
Yeah,
where you have the stuff there.
That's right.
And it can hang out, but it's not. And I guess
you're getting that IRL social thing because you probably, many of these kids have grown up and they're playing a game, whatever it is, but it's all online. And I don't know, it was always the best part of events where people that played together online finally see each other for the first time IRL. Like we had Smite teams or Paladin teams. They only knew each other from, it was pre-Discord. It was like Skype, like a Skype call.
Rip.
And then they're like, oh, dude, like you're like twice as tall as I thought, or you look totally different, you know?
Well, you're
and
jacked.
They're hugging, and it's just cool. So I think we probably do have to make it easy, but we want to give people that experience when they go to an event.
That makes sense. I mean, I think I'll be interested to see, is it LOL that's coming in October here?
Yeah. Yes.
They are?
Yeah, the LCS championship.
Yeah. So I think that'll be interesting to see if they try to do some type of on-site deployment of replay type stuff. Because I know that Rainbow Six, when they came in and they did it in Gas Out, they had something like that where you could go and play Rainbow Six, but it wasn't that big. But
That's right.
It was something.
Yeah, they had something. Yeah.
I'd be curious if when LCS, it's LCS.
It is, yep.
So yeah, when they come here, if they try to do something similar.
Yeah, I think they probably will. I mean, I think they will. I think, honestly, that game, they are trying to grow new fans. I mean, honestly, that game is getting a little old for a North American audience. I mean, it's still doing great in Asia and Europe, but kids today are not growing up playing some League of Legends. If you look, just a week ago, they released their guidelines, which are much more friendly to community organizers. If, FQS wanted to do a league tournament, particularly for youth, where before there were a lot of restrictions. You can't get this much in sponsorship. You have to ask for approval. Now it's pretty much like, go for it, play our game. And I think you're going to see more and more publishers move in this direction of we really need the community more than we used to keep our game relevant.
Yeah. So they are also coming out with a League of Legends Classic. And you know what I mean? Whenever you see a game company, Classic. So whenever a game company is like, we're going to re-release our original version of the game for the people that are still around, I think it might be a setting sun to a certain extent, at least at that point.
It's at least a win back,
At least a win back, that's for sure.
I feel like this is kind of the reoccurring theme of The Simpsons. Is it I'm wrong? No, the people are wrong. It's like, we're now actually becoming the boomers of we're actually becoming the sages of stuff, to your point that, we're not playing the original games anymore. But I think it's a perfect transition point. See you later, Garrett.
Bye, man.
It leads us to a good transition point that I wanted to talk about these publishers and the rise and death of esports teams. Right? To your point, publishers are having to open it up. You have League of Legends, which would be arguably one of the biggest publishers right now. They've invested heavily into production. They were understanding live streaming, and they understood where content was, and sounds to me like they're opening their gaps a little bit. There were sports and publishers that tried to do these models, I don't know, 5 years ago. When you look at Overwatch League, and even Call of Duty League is kind of a shell of its former self in a way, that X Games is moving to this model where they want geographical locations as a part of the sports teams, right? LA, Sao Paulo, New York, Tokyo. And then they have a big prize pool at the end of the year that if you compete and you get so many points, you win $500,000. Going to be increased depending on sponsorships. You have the athletes want to be a part of the teams because they get salaries and get the benefits. And that's very much sounds like how Overwatch League was centered, was that Overwatch wanted to be an esports. They brought in the team members. They had these huge esports teams, but it seems that that model didn't really fit or work well. I think with X Games, obviously they still have the sports, but it's afterwards that you still have BMX and you still have skateboarding. It's still going to be around. But it seems to me that in esports, that is not for certain about those type of teams. Can you talk to me about your perspective as to why that failed or it didn't work out the way that traditional sports did?
Yes, there's a lot to unpack there. I would say a couple things. The first thing is you can't force a game to be an esport, and it takes time. The community ultimately decides how much appetite there is to play a game competitively, and most games fail, and of the games that succeed, very few of those succeed as a competitive title. So that's just the reality. So the most important thing, even more than like structure and like teams or open, closed, all these structure decisions, the most important thing is always the game and the community appetite around the game. And I would say like a healthy overall ecosystem besides the professional side of it. So I think there were a few things that the Overwatch League got right and were actually smart moves. And there were other things that, with benefit of hindsight, they got wrong. So one thing they got wrong, in my view, is they just tried to build this pro league too quickly before the grassroots was built out. I don't know action sports that well, but I know that even though it's relatively new, we still have like decades of people casually and in their local parks, BMX, skateboard, right? Like these things are popular just being played, and there was organic competition for a long time before it started to have prizing and now teams. Overwatch kind of came out, and it was a very popular game, but it wasn't like there was time for this grassroots to develop. So I think they rushed it, and it was top heavy versus building and supporting the grassroots. And they were, to your point, very restricting about who could even run these grassroots tournaments. To me, that was a mistake. They went for the pro top heavy league too fast and without having the supporting base. I think one of my more controversial takes when it comes to esports is I'm a huge fan of city-based teams. Not necessarily the way that Overwatch did it, but I think most esports teams have trouble building true fandom. Yep, people follow great competitors, but they don't necessarily become a fan of Cloud9 or FaZe, or I would say Optic does a great job. They kind of are the exception of actually growing some fandom, and it helps a little bit that they have some location in Texas. And I think a team choosing a city or a region is a good cheat code for developing fans. So I don't think the way Overwatch did it was right, but I really like that model. I think it's one of the things that if we get it right, it can help esports reach mainstream fans. And I could talk about that for a long time, but that is something I believe.
So one of it was actually one of the questions that I had prepared for you was around that topic, was that I think it's hard when so a lot to unpack. I think that the esports is difficult to forecast or build, to your point, that fast, because unlike in sports, like you said, where there's years and years and decades of building a community and then trying to do something big, most games are like flash in the pans. Like Among Us was a game that was out for 5 years, then it became huge. A lot of people play it right now, but you could see if someone decided that they wanted to make Among Us, national championship, they'd try and do that. I think we argued the same thing with Fortnite. Fortnite's done one World Cup, and they never did one again. So I know that you want to build it around the cities, and then it's easier to build gaming around the cities. But if you don't have an anchor, so to speak, like a game, because the games rise and fall in popularity, what is the premise behind building a team of just gamers and saying this is the team that reps Atlanta? We don't know what games they're going to play. It's whatever games they want to play, but like you should be behind them.
Right. So I think there's a lot there, but I will say where I agree is that you never really know how long a video game is going to last and be relevant. Where with sports, they have decades, and even when something new like pickleball comes on the scene, like that's unusual. So by the way, this is like an advantage of the game industry in my view, not a disadvantage, but it's unique, and that makes games more like music. Like how long is this particular band going to be relevant? They might have a 5-decade career, or they might be a one-hit wonder. So gaming in the culture is almost similar to music or fashion than it is like sports. So that's kind of one take.
Yep.
But because of that, a publisher that wants to be a multi-decade game, and to be clear, Counter-Strike, 30 years, Dota, 30 years, League of Legends approaching, 20 years. So these franchises, and some of these are as popular as ever, Counter-Strike for sure. So the flip is when the Overwatch League came out, and even early Valorant and Call of Duty, the publisher was asking the team to invest in order to get a franchise. But the value should go the other way. With games, the game publisher needs the teams to help keep the game relevant. If you want to stream the game Fortnite, do you pay Epic a fee? No. Sometimes Epic pays you a fee when they come out because you deliver marketing value, and you're going to bring in new players, and even more, you're going to help with retention and engagement because people are like, oh, I guess I'll dust out Fortnite. How do streamers make money even though games come and go? Because they build true fandom.
There's no brand.
That's right. And people get attached. A team, if it executed that, can do that times 100. I'm not saying they're executing that right now, but the fandom that is a potential around a team, particularly if you tie that to identity, and geography in a city is a cheat code to identity, people will rep. I went to a Braves game the other day. I don't follow baseball, but I know who I root for every single time the World Series comes. I don't really follow soccer, but I know who I'm going to root for if I'll jump on that bandwagon. It's so natural. It's so tribal. And esports needs to dive in and embrace that hard.
So to that point, even now, you're arguing that esports teams need to become local before they become global. But gamers often follow individual players and creators rather than cities. Is geographic esports a real solution, or is traditional sports nostalgia?
I don't think traditional sports is nostalgia at all. I think just like we were saying, so again, in traditional sports, for most leagues, players follow athletes more than teams. In that LeBron, I'm guessing, has more followers on social media than when he was at Cleveland, probably the Lakers. I don't know how he compares to the NBA overall. But so, yes, in all activities, people get attached to individuals. But just like in sports, even though people get attached to Messi, that doesn't mean you can't build a massive business around him on the team level. So I don't think sports in terms of the location are nostalgia at all. We were just talking about how, as humans, there's going to be a return to IRL.
Yeah.
There's nothing like being at a live sports experience. There's nothing like being at a live esports experience.
Yeah.
And there needs to be more of those attached to a location. And beyond the fandom point, which is the number one reason to do it, as someone that puts on these events, and you do too, just the sheer practicality of having more players and activity local. The biggest expense is travel. You know this, to get the talent there.
Yeah.
What if the talent's already there? There's so many reasons it makes sense.
First question, is that the thesis of Ghost Gaming then for you?
It is
essentially the solution to solve of that problem for Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's three things I believe about esports, and they're all going to take time, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is in all of them. Like, I'm not saying something for someone else to do. I'm calling my shot.
Doing it.
I am calling my
dying
shot.
it on the hill.
This is what I'm doing with my time, with my money. I'm doing this, and I'm saying it out loud because I think it will win eventually. And there's 3 parts of it, but one of the more important one is focus in your backyard. Now, I can't do that overnight, and I can't do it 100% by myself because it takes other teams to also choose to do that. It takes leagues to do that, right? Like a team of one is not a team, which is, by the way, another reason things need to be geo-located. Right now, we're on this winner-take-all. Like, even if you think you can be the global brand, what do we want? 3 teams? That's not an ecosystem. I mean, if at the end you have 3 teams, so the best way to divide up the pie is what American sports has done really well, which is have markets where you have leading teams that are specializing in that market. That is what I'm going to do with Ghost.
Yeah. So talk to me about, so you're talking about the overarching national teams. I know that you hinted at, you're basically hinting at this about NASF, right? You had some ideas about how to handle esports on a national level. What's your solve there?
Yeah.
What's the solution that you're...
Well, I mean, so there's clubs and there's nations, and they're different. So as we know in soccer, right, there's clubs that play in the Premier League, and they have teams that even though they have a global player base, they have an identity, right? I mean, Manchester United, right? Barcelona. They all are global brands, but they have a very clear identity of where the heat of the fandom comes from. And then every once in a while, the players play for their nation as well, like the World Cup, right? So that exists. Yeah. So in esports, I believe things will develop in the same way. So right now in Paris, we're talking while the esports World Cup is happening, which are professional clubs, right? They're clubs that are playing. And then in November, there will be the Nations Cup, the Esports Nations Cup. So this is already happening on the nation level. So 150 countries will send players in up to 16 games that are citizens of their country. And on the nonprofit side, through USA Esports, which I'm a bit involved with on the board, we just announced our 16th team. So, I mean, this is happening. Like, we will be sending 16 teams, the best players from the U.S. in Valorant, in Rocket League, in League of Legends, in Street Fighter, in 16 different games. So it's already starting to happen on the nations level, and I'm trying to encourage it to also happen more and more on the, let's call it club or pro team level.
To that point, and I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, is that we were saying about how the city needs to invest in their own.
Mm-hmm.
And this is maybe a question coming out of ignorance of how teams are ultimately structured. We have the Atlanta Hawks. We have the Atlanta Braves. We used to have a hockey team. I think we don't have one, but I keep seeing rumors that we may have one.
Yep, Gwinnett has one.
Gwinnett has one.
Yep.
Right.
We have
a minor league
others.
team. We have Atlanta United. We have esports. Does the city support to provide support in sports teams in the same way that it provides support for esports in gaming now? Is there, like, we talked about protecting your own, and we're obviously talking about that there. So is there, I guess my question is that it sounds like you're having to die on the hill, but we don't want to die on these hills alone, right? We're ultimately pushing for it because you see a vision. Is there support from the cities that the cities need to be more involved in saying, hey, gaming is going to be a thing, and we need to be like carving out these subsidies or carving out things to have these like local teams to be able to grow for their communities? How does the city need to be involved if they are involved with the sports teams, for instance?
Yeah, so they're not super involved with the sports teams. I mean, as you know, what happens from time to time is they will do some kind of creative financing to help a major project like a stadium, like what the Braves did with the Battery. They'll create a bond or create some tax incentives, and there'll be some support there. So it gets kind of wonky, but at the end of the day, like, there is that support, but we're talking about when it's a really big project. So other than that, they're not that involved. I would say from an esports standpoint, where cities are starting to like open up their mind is around bringing big events to town, right? And as you know, there's different cities and states that have incentive programs for esports because of the tourism and hotels, and so they're already doing that a lot. And then sometimes around other tax incentives, like the live production tax incentive, right, that are also related to that. So that's where
that is a huge state incentive, yeah.
Right. I mean, those are states and cities putting their money where their mouth are. They're not to teams yet, and that's fine. But I do think they will. I think they will get there when the industry is of the size to get there. But they don't have to get there. By the way, like nothing requires them to get behind this vision. I just think it's going to be a better performing system than what we have now.
Well, the reason why I'm asking the question is that with sports, you have rec leagues, you have a funnel essentially of fandom that some dude goes to a sports game. He's big into football. He wants his kid to be into football. He can start football at a young age. That kind of grows into fandom, gives you a long front tail end for someone to end up buying merchandise and going to shows and do those things. If esports and gaming is very much dependent on people like you and I who are like, we want to go and fly the flag, as much as I love us, there's only so much that we can do. So that's where I'm curious that if the cities aren't going to show support for it, and that the sports teams have kind of become an amalgamation of themselves because of the rec leagues and everything else that's like feeding into it. How do you do it then on a community level that becomes self-sufficient, that then helps feed the geese,
right?
So to speak?
Well, that's the thing is that
community that builds into NASIF, that builds into esports,
well, yeah,
so National Olympics, and
in the 5 to 7 years since like we did the Smite League, let's say, where there was none of that support, and as a publisher, we had to do it all ourselves. It's developing crazy fast, specifically high school and college. Like this is not dependent on me. We were early in the space, but in Georgia, there's 300 high schools just in Georgia that have an esports team. Like they're playing League of Legends and Rocket League, right, already. And there's 20 colleges in Georgia. There's 300 colleges across the U.S. There's thousands of high schools. So, in the past 5 years, it's one of the fastest growing youth activities within schools that there is. But then it's like, well, then where do people go after that? If they all have to go to L.A. because L.A. has 10 teams, and New York has 0, or Georgia were to have 0, that's not efficient talent development. And when you look at traditional sports, which has taken a long time, they have this traditional talent development system.
So the sports model in the X Games, the thing that subsidizes them building these sports teams is that they have the prize pool. And I think that, or at least that's the carrot at the end of the stick, to invest in these teams, and that you win the prize pool, you have good athletes that have good ILS, that ultimately drives you as the owner revenue.
Yep.
So you own Ghost. There's not too many of these like Fortnite World Cup like prize pools, and only one winner gets the pot. Right. So how do you make it then, to your point, that you're a professional sports team, sustainable beyond just the prize pools that are few and far in between right now in gaming?
Totally. Yeah. You definitely do not want, in my view, you do not want to build an esports org that is dependent on winning for its income.
The winning is nice.
Winning is great, and that's what motivates a lot of people that are crazy enough to be involved with esports. But it's not a good financial model because you can't predict it, right? The NFL works because every team makes money every year, no matter how crappy they are, right? The Premier League, most teams lose money. Not that it's people are in it for different reasons, but they don't make profit, right? So they're very different models between like something that's a little more closed and coordinated and something that's open. But to your point, where we started, why are publishers opening up the reins a little bit?
Yeah.
Because publishers these days, because gaming is harder, publishers need marketing. How can they market? They like creators, because creators, even though they have to be careful and select them right, but the right creators can drive a ton of value for them. teams can drive, in my view, the potential even more value for them. We should use a combined approach. That's what we did when I was a publisher. This is where we put our money. Some creators, some original content, and some esports. That's pretty much our whole marketing budget.
Yeah.
We tried running banner ads, we did other stuff. It didn't work as well as money to creators, money in original content, and money into esports teams. That's what we did. But what happened in the time of Overwatch is there was a VC gold rush. Money was literally free. It was zero interest rates. Dumped in, grow at all costs. And then a publisher was like, wait, I can find someone to pay me $20 million to be in my league? Okay. The money should have gone the other way. The money should go from the publisher to the team in exchange for marketing deliverables, just like they go to a creator, just like they go to an event. The publisher needs to stay relevant because unlike sports, there's another game on their heels. So the value was flipped because of a weird...
Is this greed? It just sounds...
No, just money was free. When money's free, a lot of weird things happen.
Yeah, that's true. I guess so.
Now everybody's looking. Now money's very expensive, and VCs are not investing in a lot. It's high interest rates. So all these teams are not looking at grow. They're really looking at, how do I build a profitable business? And it's super healthy. Like, we're kind of healing, in my view, as an industry, even though things are slower.
Yeah.
Player salaries are coming down. It's like, that's healthy. Yeah, to a more reasonable spot.
Well, I was joking. Can't remember who I was talking to about this, but I was joking with them about, esports was a bunch of people who wanted to just play video games with their friends, with the computers and the Mountain Dews and the Doritos chips, and that's where it started. And then a bunch of VCs came in and said, we can make money off this, and then blew it up to things that none of the gamers really wanted. None of it really wanted, but other people saw money signs. And now we're coming back to a bunch of gamers sitting back with the computers, with the Mountain Dew, of where it came from, but it's more authentic and the learning lesson.
That's right. And people, I think for various reasons, people either really believed or misrepresented a bit what it can be, and they lost what it already is, right? People present it as this media property that will be bigger than the NFL. My view, media, as much as I love media, I'm in the media business, media is old. We have video games. Video games are the biggest entertainment industry on planet Earth, and nothing touches them, right? We're bigger than all of music and all of movies put together times 2. Gaming is what everyone wants because gaming has attention and gaming monetizes, right? Everyone else is trying to do ads, do these product sponsors. Gaming, people love, and they actually open up their wallet. So gaming is the economic engine, and esports just supports that. That's the whole thing that people got wrong. So these game publishers need esports teams because esports teams drive people to play their game more, and that's the economic engine. Like, we have what everyone else wants. They're a passive media property. We've got active people playing video games, and esports is the nice icing on top.
So pivoting a little bit, because it brings up a good point, that media is old. My one thesis on live streaming is that I feel that that's where media is going to head because it's a bi-directional medium. It's the first medium that I would argue is interactive versus passive. Sports was something that you watched, you sit on a couch, whatever happened, you just, for better or for worse, you liked or didn't like, right? And same thing that with drama or movies or other stuff. If you didn't like it, change the channel. There might be something for you. The live streaming now is different because you can create interactive media that changes, and it almost has the same framing of a video game, but it's like live action, right? Do you have that same take? Where does media need to go in order for it to be as engaging as a video game is and compete with a market like that?
I agree. Live streaming is the most interactive form of media that we have. What makes a game unique to everything else is that I take an action and something happens. I am the protagonist. I'm not sitting back, I'm leaning in. And the closest thing we have to that in the media space that's not a playable video game is live streaming, because I'm chatting, I'm using emotes, people are introducing gamification like badges or polls or betting. So I don't think it's going to replace all of media, because sometimes you do want to just sit back and be passive, but I think it's going to take an increasing share. I think video games and live streaming will take an increasing share of media consumption habits, because the next generation wants to be interactive and they want to push something and have something happen.
And it brings up a good point, because I'm of the mind, and I know you're of the mind of it. I know there's others that have gone and tested and tried to blend sports and live streaming to try and solve that problem. The ones that come to mind is what was the 7-on-7 football event that used to happen?
Band control football.
So people were building live streams where you could do drafts, you could call plays, you could do that. To me, I thought that was the natural evolution of where it was going to go. But it seems that it didn't take off the way. I think they're on pause now. They were going to do band control basketball and other stuff, and it didn't really hit the way that people thought it did. Why do you think then that it struggled in that capacity when you feel like that's like the perfect recipe, right? That people want to interact?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you're right. I think directionally more interaction is what is going to happen and is what's happening. But that said, like, inventing anything new is hard. Like, the reason it failed is because most things fail. Success is the exception. So the reason I'm in the video game space and not trying to create what you just described is it's still expensive, but it's less expensive than building what they built. So I can iterate more, because 90% of what we make as a video game will not succeed, because 90% of things don't succeed.
It's the top 1%.
Yeah.
It's like I was watching, what was it, Streamer You, and Ludwig was talking about the success rate of even streamers there. And he's like, the top 1% of content creators have over like 20 viewers. He said that's the top 1%. And then even of that top 1%, you have only, a 0.5%, or maybe out of that top 1%, 20% of them are actually profitable, that they quit their full-time jobs and are making enough to be able to afford to stream, right? So he's like, look to the left and the right of you. You guys probably won't make it.
I mean, it's so universal. The Pareto principle, 80-20, right? And in creative, it's more like 90-10, right? Like 80% of your sales come from 20% of your salespeople, right? 80% of the most productive game development code will come from 20% of the programmers, right? Again, like if I tried to do a slate of 10 shows, I'd be thrilled if 2 of them end up working, certainly with video games too. So yeah, I mean, I think people in our age of social media, people just look at everybody's I made it posts and passive income posts and think that this stuff is easy. Most things are really, really hard.
They're not making it, it's all a lie, and it's not.
Yeah, I mean, most things fail. It's just true. Failure is the norm. Failure is the state of life. Success is exceptional, and we should be celebrating it more, because it doesn't just happen. Like, most new things are going to fail.
That's a very interesting point. And I guess for gaming, you can iterate through that faster with more games. So is it a quantity game then? Is it a quantity or quality problem then?
It is, and this goes back to your really early question, which now I can hit. Like, why are you back into making video games, right? Yep. So it fundamentally starts with talent. Like anything else, you need exceptional talent. Games are made by humans, and it's really hard to find good talent. After that, it is a quantity and iteration game. It is shipping quickly to an actual customer in your target market, getting very real feedback. Usually that's what they don't like, and either iterating that and then having a sense on when do you improve and when do you just cut your losses and make something else. When we started Hi-Res Studios, because we could digitally distribute, that's what made it interesting, because it was like, oh, wait, we can release something, and if they don't like it, we can release an update, and we don't have to like make a new disc and go to Best Buy and EB Games. That was going to increase our iteration time. And then I got out of gaming, and the reason I'm back in is because of these tools with user-generated content. We're doing stuff in Fortnite, but whether people pick Roblox or Fortnite, The tools just let you make more games. They let you iterate more quickly.
So to your point, and I'm getting indicators to wrap it up, but I have a couple questions there, but I want to ask a question on this. So what are the indicators for you that, because it seems like you've been pretty good at nailing your moments of like when I need to change, pivot, or hold on to an idea. What are the indicators for you of I need to push forward, or I need to cut my losses and I need to shift? Is there like a line in the sand that you've mentally drawn that you're like, this is, or is it just more of a gut feeling because you've been in it for so long and you're like, I just trust my gut and it's not failed me?
I mean, for video games specifically, there's pretty clear measure, which is, retention at the end of the day. And we could, again, talk about what that is. But at the end of the day, you downloaded the game. Do you come back tomorrow? Do you come back next week? Do you come back next month? In the same way, if someone was building an app or some other consumer product, it's like, do we get people to come back? And there's various ways we look at that. But for video games, that really is the most important thing. And if that isn't there, it doesn't matter. We could pour on marketing. People would just not go. It'd be a leaky bucket. They'd just go in and then go out.
Yeah.
We could try to monetize, but we wouldn't get enough players. So it's all about retention when it comes to a game, which is at the end of the day a fancy way of like, are people having enough fun to come back again? When it comes to other business ideas, it's gut informed by data, right? I mean,
is retention the same thing for creators and other stuff? It's like you're looking at the people who are coming back, or even the events, and you're like, is this?
I think it is. I mean, we won't have time in this episode to talk about creator space, but like, I think brands are going to keep looking at authentic creators and influencers, and it's a good place to spend. I think they're going to start to distrust digital numbers. I think what you can measure is like when a creator does a thing in real life, like how many people show up. Like that's real. Like people are going to look for these very real measures.
Promoters, at least party promoters, have been doing that for years. It's like, yeah, you have a social media of 100,000 people, but if you can't fill up a room of 50 people when you come DJ, like, why am I going to book you?
Exactly. And whether you're promoting a party or you're promoting selling glasses or shoes or energy drink, you do it for the conversion ultimately.
I got to wrap it up here. I got two questions for you to wrap this up in a bow.
Okay.
And it's one we haven't really talked about, but I think it'll be good. If you had to rebuild the North American esports industry from scratch today, what is the first thing you would eliminate, and what would you replace it with?
Oh wow. Well, I would replace. I would certainly put in place city or state-based professional teams. That would be one thing. And what I would eliminate, I mean, if I could wave a magic wand, I would probably say publishers need to spend at least 2 years supporting the grassroots before they have any professional scene whatsoever.
Okay. Other question, 5 years from now, what will prove that esports teams were successfully reborn? And what will prove that the model was permanently dead?
Part of esports success 5 years from now, even separate from pro teams, are that significantly more parents will be excited paying for their young person to go to be in an esports event the same way, or so esports training team, the same way they're excited about paying for youth soccer or piano lessons or chess lessons. When parents understand the value that esports provides and will unlock their wallet and dollars, that's when real growth will happen.
I agree. I think we're at the end of the show. Todd, I think you were right. You were like, we could go and have multiple podcast episodes on this. There's a lot of stuff to unpack. I really appreciate you coming here today. It's been a long time coming. Thanks for being on the show.
It was overdue. You guys have a great setup here. So glad I could make it by.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much for being here on this week's episode of Run a Show. We'll be back next week, same time, same bat channel. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Cody.
I'm Todd. See you guys online.
See you online.